Welcome to the LaSTEM Collective Podcast, a monthly partnership of the Skills Region 8 LaSTEM Center and Louisiana Delta Community College, bringing you conversations and accomplishments, opportunities and experiences in the Louisiana Region 8 STEM ecosystem and beyond. And now, here are your hosts, Ryan Pierce and Cathi Cox-Boniol.
Morning. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I can't complain. How about for you?
No complaints on this side.
Well, it wouldn't do us any good anyway, right?
I was going to say that, and I'm glad you beat me to it. That's what I always tell people when I said, no complaints, because nobody's going to listen if you do.
That's right.
Or either they're going to join in with theirs, and you don't want to hear that. So
Exactly. Well, welcome everybody to episode number 8, believe it or not.
Unbelievable.
I feel like we haven't hit that 1 year mile marker yet, but I feel like we're getting close. We're over the hump.
That's right. We are about 3/4 of the way, I guess.
Close. I was feeling so good about today and what has happened in the Skills Network that I decided to put on, plus it's getting a little warmer.
It is getting warmer.
I decided to put on this shirt. So I'm going to stand up a little bit.
You have it. Look at him with his Skills logo. Oh, I feel suddenly underdressed.
So if I know some of the partners in the network have received this, maybe not everybody. I'm here to make everybody jealous this morning. Because I have a gray Skills Network. And by the way, the material in this is incredible. I mean, it's
very soft.
Yeah, and it's breathable too. So
that's the most important thing.
And I was thinking, right, as I'm outside over the weekend doing a little gardening, I was thinking, gosh, isn't it nice that we have the technology now that can create clothing that allows us to, breathe and our bodies to almost, this stuff wicks away the sweat, if you will. So athletic gear is great.
What in the world did our ancestors do? I mean, it's no wonder that they succumbed early because they had sweated out all their bodily fluids early on, especially in this part of the world.
Oh, my goodness. So now, what's funny about this whole situation this time? I'm clicking through all the technology I have on my end.
And people, there is some technology here.
There are things happening. And all of a sudden, I realized that what was working once before is no longer working. Isn't that something?
That sounds like just another day in my office. So there you go.
Yeah, right, exactly. So with that being said, that's what I was looking for. Here it is.
You found it.
I found what I was looking for. Thank goodness.
You know what? And you just problem solved your way through a challenge. That's a STEM mindset, dude.
I'm telling you. I feel like I just more or less clicked my way through the problem, but eventually I got to the right place, right? So I was talking about gardening, and I wanted to share with everybody a little bit from my garden.
Oh, I see the pepper.
Yeah. So this is a green bell pepper. Yeah, a couple green bell peppers. My wife is in love with sweet banana peppers and bell peppers, any kind of light pepper, not the kind of stuff that knocks your socks off, that just blows you away,
make you cry. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I found myself in the garden recently, and it's funny because ever since the weekend, these things have grown quite nicely, and so they've actually a little bit bigger, not quite ready to harvest, but we got green in there. We have some other kind of peppers that we picked up from Natchitoches. I can't even tell you what they are, but some kind of Italian peppers that we have. So really cool stuff. But then the other thing that was a surprise over the weekend was this.
And wow.
This is a calla lily. Now, believe it or not, I bought this actually from Lowe's, but I didn't buy it this year. I bought it last year. And then I left it outside over the winter. And all I did this time around, it's the beauty of nature. All I did this time around was just water it. When it got a little warmer, put a little fertilizer on it, and I was hoping it would come back, just come on back. And it did. And let me tell you, I got another angle. It came back just beautifully, and it's just I don't even think it was this color last year. I think it was orange.
Okay, so you said that about the color. I'm going to just say that I was noticing the vibrant color, even starting with the pepper. Mm-hmm. But when you get to this, and you said you left it out this winter, we had some pretty brutal temperatures this winter. Now, my apologies to the north, because I know they laugh when we say that. But for us, we had some really cold temperatures, and look at this. It made it through. You said no attention. You just, when the weather began to warm up.
It's in the same spot that it was in over the winter. So we have a deck area, and it's in the shade a little bit, half shade, half sun. And it came back, and like I said, I didn't mess with the soil. And all I did was just put some water on it when it started to get warm. I saw some sprouts coming up. I put a little fertilizer, some Miracle Grow, just to see, just a little bit, right, just to help it out along its way. And I couldn't believe it because I thought it was going to be dead, like the one next to it,
which
that's really struggling,
which is
right?
dead. And we are experiencing that dynamic in our front yard. We have like 4 plants that survived, and then the others no. And I'm like, so what's up with that? Y'all are in the same place, getting the same elements and everything, but
Right,
no,
exactly.
not looking so good.
So really proud. I mean, this is probably my 3rd year trying to grow some things. These are snap peas in a container. And you ever have any leftover bins, like storage bins that you move things with?
Yeah.
So we've had a few moves for my daughter's off in college and helping her get places. And I said, what are we going to do with all these bins? So I drilled some holes. This is, again, that STEM mindset, right? I drilled some holes at the bottom of these bins, and for drainage, put some good soil in there, plant some snap peas, and then they're starting to grow, and they're starting to vine up too, the vine. So it's just little things like this that make me happy. Here's my squash plant.
Look at you with the green thumb. I mean, and here I am with the biology degree, and my thumb is anything but green.
I mean, this is the first year that I've actually been able to grow squash after 3 years of trying, right? This is my first year actually looking like it's going to get good. Look at this.
Love some squash, I'm telling you.
Yeah, so I got my mouse here. I'm just kind of showing you. So on the flower is the end, but then that's that little bulb right there is where that crookneck squash is going to come in. So first time ever that success is going to happen.
That's amazing.
And this is, I think, zucchini squash with all these leaves. Again, in those containers, right? So I have, and this is a strawberry plant. It's got some strawberries trying to come in there. So I'm just really proud. And then this is probably the proudest thing ever. So I know you're thinking, what are we looking at here, Ryan? This is, I love avocados. And
okay.
I took an avocado seed and kind of cracked it open a little bit, and it's in water, clear jar in the sunlight, inside of our house. And I was instructed to just put some toothpicks, submerge it 2/3 of the way in, and what you see coming out of the bottom is the start of a root. It's kind of hard to see, but the avocado is starting to trying to root, and then I'm going to put it in some dirt, and hopefully I'll get an avocado tree in a couple years.
Unbelievable.
And then that's ginger. I know that looks kind of weird, but we have a ginger plant in the backyard too, and then I'm going to get off of this and get back to
No, because I had a couple of things running through my mind as you were doing this. Number one, I'm going to tell you that watching this brought back such amazing memories of growing up in the country. My folks had a huge garden. Of course, I remember my grandparents having a big garden, but every summer, my mom would be up in the garden early in the morning when it was cool. We were talking about, the heat. And of course, my job was to get the house in order while Mom was harvesting. And so then she would come in and she would can. And she would can beans and put away. Anyway, but at lunch, we would go out on the patio and have fresh vegetables that Mom would have harvested that morning. And I'm telling you, corn, squash, green beans, potatoes, hot water cornbread, and it was fantastic. No meat. I mean, we saved the meat for when Daddy got home at night. But that was like that. When I think of summer, that's what I think of. Then we'd rest a little bit. We go swimming in the lake. I mean, life didn't get any better. And so looking at those pictures just made me think back to my mom and my dad's garden, and how fantastic it was.
Let me share one more thing with you. So, this is my foot. So I'm sitting down in the grass, right? And these, I don't know, it's hard to see them, but amidst the grass in our backyard, there are these, heart-shaped leaves.
Is that dollarweed?
So believe it or not, it could be. Well, I have an app, so the apps are the name of the game, and it identifies that as blue violet leaves. So if we didn't cut the grass and the grass were to grow, those leaves would, or the flowers that would come from that would be blue violet. Just a very small, type of flowering plant. And so what has interested me this spring is this concept of foraging. What we have, a lot of times we think, our garden has to be, or our yard has to be beautiful. It has to be all grass, no clover, no this, no that, no weeds, right? Well, what we consider to be weeds are actually sometimes beneficial, whether they be for medicinal purposes, or we can just make nice teas out of them, or we can eat them raw. And so, I'm always interested in what's edible, what's not edible. So I wanted to let just get an app. There's a few out there, like I think one is called Seek, Seek, and the other one is called Picture This. and you just never know what it might identify. Now, again, you got to cross-reference some things, right?
I was going to say, because you're not telling me to go home and taste the dollarweed in our front yard.
Well, all I'm saying is this: once you identify something, then maybe cross-reference it on Google and a few other sources. Maybe go to the library or whatnot, and see what the research says. Maybe it is safe to eat, or maybe it's got a use that you just weren't aware of. I'm not saying just go out and pick stuff and you don't know what it is, but because you got to be safe. But it's just fascinating to me, all of the things that are growing in my yard. I have lyre leaf sage.
Oh,
very
really?
identifiable, growing in my yard, and we think of it as a weed, and we cut them down. But the leaves, again, you can actually make tea out of that, and it's actually quite tasty. So, and we have mushrooms growing back there. Now, I definitely warn everybody: watch out for mushrooms.
I was going to say, this is getting off into a dangerous area.
I know,
here.
and I'm going to stop right there because I haven't touched them. I've tried to identify them, but I'm not certain about what they are, and so I kind of leave them alone. But there's a lot. What I'm trying to get at is my experience this spring has been a experience of discovery. There's been a lot of natural. I'm appreciating nature a lot more because I'm outside more, I'm gardening more, and then I'm also trying to see what else is there that has been put on the earth that Mother Nature is here for us, to use, to consume, to help us, to heal us, whatever that might be. We just need to do a better job of trying to maximize the resources that we have. I think we end up throwing a lot of things away or discarding them, thinking that they're not useful to us just because we don't know what they are and how beneficial they can be. So I would just encourage everybody to explore. I'm not saying, again, let me put it in quotations, right? This is not health advice on the show, right?
Bold it.
Right. It's not health advice. I'm saying, but just that's been my experience, at least, to go about discovering what's out there and maybe what we can use.
So I guess that's my challenge, to work on my mindset about the weeds in my front yard that I was not appreciating when I left this morning. In fact, thinking they are taking over everything. But I will work on that mindset. And I'm sitting here thinking perhaps I need to check with an expert, have them come look at it, see what it is. I have a feeling they're going to say, get rid of it, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just encourage, just again, look it up. I'm not saying put anything, consume anything, but just look it up and see, you might find that, there's a long lost remedy somewhere that we just didn't know about. So.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's my intro to the show. I know you have some things for us as well.
Well, I'm going to start with a little personal reflection. In looking at your pictures, I was just amazed. I told you the vibrant color and how it popped. It's at least kind of popping on one side of my head because I am just coming out of recovery of my first cataract surgery.
Oh, that's
and I
right.
got to tell you,
that's right.
People look at me and say, "Oh, it must be your right eye," and I'm like, "How can you tell?" I guess it's still looking kind of weird. I don't know, but I am just absolutely amazed at the technological advances that we benefit from today. And, I referenced my grandparents a while ago. I remember back in the early 70s when my grandmother, about mid-70s, she had cataract surgery. And we had to bring her to my house, to my mom's house, put her in my room where they had to keep it dark all the time. And she had to lay flat on her back and could not move and not move your head. And we were cautioned not to make noise because we couldn't jolt her or, surprise her. And, this went on for days upon days upon days. And y'all, now cataract surgery has become just almost like going to the dentist and having your teeth cleaned.
Wow.
You go in and you have it done. And the really weird thing about it is, and this is what I told everybody, you're awake while this is going on. And
Wait,
so
you're awake the whole time?
So this was the interesting thing to me. They come in and they give you a little happy juice before, which I love that stuff. I always say I can use the rest. But it didn't keep me out. And so I'm in there. And so I asked the nurse when she came in, I said, "So am I going to get some more happy juice?" She said, "Nope, no more happy juice." And I thought, now this is fixing to be unbelievable. Of course, they deaden your eye, but still you're aware of everything that's going on, which is fascinating to me. And this is somebody cutting into your eye, And so I found it to be just, I must say just maybe a minor bit of traumatic, because you can feel the clicks and all that. But the fact that, and he's talking to you and saying this, that, and the other, and then they go home and I can see, and I could go home and watch TV. There was a bit of a halo around the TV because my eye was so dilated. In fact, it was like 2 days later, I told Tom, I said, I still look like I have a shark eye because it was so, my pupil was so dilated. But here we are, just barely over a week, and I'm driving and I'm back. Everything is unbelievable. So, I'm just reflecting on the magnificent advances we've made in the T of STEM and the S in STEM, science and technology, because it has really, really revolutionized medical procedures, our ability to heal and get on about life, quality of life, good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. My grandfather, I remember him having a few eye surgeries as well. And it seemed like I know it's an ordeal. Let me tell you, just from my own thought, if anybody's messing around with my eye.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like, wait, and I'm still awake. I mean, I'm thinking, how can I even handle that? They would have to knock me out, I would think, because I just don't if anything's coming this way, right? Your natural response is to either bat it away or move.
You can't, because they've got a thing on your eye with it. Pulling it wide open. You can't do anything. But they did caution me not to be wiggling around, because I thought, oh my gosh, because I tend to kind of move around all the time. Yeah.
So I don't know how you did it, but I mean, I gotta say, I'm hopeful that I'm sure there'll be a day when I'll have to have my eyes worked on as well, and I'm hopeful that I can be as poised as you were.
Well, it all comes down to quality of life with me. And my folks were like, you seem so young to have cataract surgery. I said, well, that's really part of it. I am so young, and I want my quality of life to be really good, and I need to be able to drive at night so we can go and do. And that's kind of where the issue was coming in. And so the fact that they can pinpoint and say, if we correct your cataracts, then this is going to take care of this problem at night. And I went to the doctor yesterday, and I couldn't believe how well I could read, at a distance with that eye, even with it still healing. I was stunned. I was stunned.
Well, there's hope for all of us then, I presume. I mean, but gosh, okay. I'll have to take your words and believe that it's going to be okay.
I am going to tell you this, though, and then we'll get on to something that's a little more positive. As I was laying there and he was doing his thing, and you could feel it. You know that there's a clip and a something and whatever, and you're just aware. It made me think of like Criminal Minds or something on TV where you have these demented people doing weird stuff to people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm there. But it wasn't that at all. It was a great doctor doing great things, but you can't help but go there in your head and go, oh wow, Yeah.
I think we should get along with the show now. I've totally lost it now.
Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Let's talk Mini Summit. How about that?
That's a good thing.
Let's get back on the Mini Summit.
Okay. So, the Mini Summit was actually great. You know what's funny? I would have to pause the show. Daggone it. I forgot. I brought my award with me. It was so... I'm just going to reflect one more time and say how touched I was by that. You just don't know. I was stunned because I really, like we talk about it all the time. When we do things, and I've seen you get up for awards too, so you understand this wholeheartedly. When you do things, you just do them because you like to do them.
That's it.
You don't care, like you're not thinking about what am I going to get because of this, right? You're in the flow, you're in the rhythm of it, and you just like it. So when it came to taking a liking to what we were doing in the Skills Network and wanting to promote that with the podcast series and just any other way that we could, it just was natural, right? So I'm thinking, this is nothing. This is just what I want to do.
It's just what we do.
Yeah. And the same thing for you. I've seen you up, on stage, getting an award, having to give speeches and things like that. And you're saying, this is just me. I mean, thank you for recognizing it, but it was going to be that way regardless.
Yeah.
And so when I know we're kind of jumping here, but when it came to the Tanya Oak Smith Innovation and Transformation Award, I was, first of all, to be named or to have my name associated with her name.
Yeah. Just
had me on the floor. And thus when you call me up, I'm thinking, I don't deserve this. There's just no way that.
But sure you do. Yeah.
Because there's so much good work going on in our network. I just felt like my contribution is, it's a small one, and I'm happy to do it, but that's all. And so to get that and I brought it with me, and I would hold it up. Just imagine the award. We'll have pictures of it, I'm sure. But imagine me holding up the award. It's my favorite award of all time. I've never gotten anything that touched me as much as that. So we'll show some pictures for sure. But thank you so much for thinking of me.
It is. And we probably should kind of put that into some context, who Tanya was.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tanya Oak Smith was our colleague at Louisiana Tech University. She was on the ground level team that got Skills going when all this was going. I mean, when you look at our logo that's on the screen right now, that's Tanya helping us with that, and the branding and the marketing and making sure that the message was clear, and that whole deal. I mean, I cannot tell you how much she guided us and championed us. I mean, she did the first podcast I was ever on. She was the one that had me on there. Yeah. The E in STEM stands for Elvis. That was the name of it. And it was just great, how she could, because she could just pull the stories out of people. Well, anyway, we lost Tanya much too young. And it happened not long before we were getting down to the nuts and bolts of the mini summit. And so we wanted to find a way to honor her, to kind of celebrate her legacy and her contributions to skills. And so we came up with this idea of let's just do an annual award. And the whole point of it is to recognize individuals from within the skills network that are doing the kind of inspired work that she championed, but that are also having such a transformative impact on the work within the skills network. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yeah. And I called a buddy across campus to help me with what are we going to call this thing, and so he came up with, I don't want to take credit. And we laugh about this because we think Tanya would have been like, we could come up with something better. But anyway, she was just that way. But the Tanya Oak Smith Innovation and Transformation Award. And we call it TSIDA. It's TSIDA. Although she would say, don't call it Tasita. It sounds like a chip. We could just hear her saying that. You're calling me a chip. So anyway, it's called TSIDA. And so we recognize 2 individuals with the inaugural TSIDA. This is how we wrapped up the mini summit. And Dr. Jamie Newman, who is a real champion for women in STEM. If anybody's been listening as we've gone through the past few months, right. Girls in STEM is our statewide initiative, and she's been instrumental in helping us get that off the ground. And so she was recognized, but then my co-host here, Ryan Pierce, was also recognized. And so, of course, y'all see him in the podcast every week. And this was his baby, his idea. He approached me and was like, Cathi, you think we can do this? Absolutely, I'm in.
Well, I mean, you never want to shy away from something that's cool and new to do. So you said,
absolutely,
let's do it.
Yeah.
And you have some history with radio too, right?
Yeah, I do.
and just news in general. Yeah. I mean, you write for the paper. I mean,
it's all good. But here's the deal, and let's just call it what it is. Everybody's busy. Everybody's plate is full. But for someone to step up and say, I want to add something else, and I want it to be new, and we're going to be, trying to, basically create create the airplane as we fly it, because we just kind of jumped in, and just recognizing that it could make a difference, and they had a talent that could be shared in doing this. I mean, that's you. And so it was just a natural fit. And so when you say you were on the floor, I wasn't. I mean, it was a no-brainer to me. And so I don't think we could have had any better inaugural recipients of the award. And I really appreciated the fact that you said just having your name associated with hers. That's kind of what we hope it is when people realize, the largeness of what Tanya Oak Smith, Dr. Tanya Oak Smith, I should say, because she was awarded her doctorate just days before she died. Wow. That we have that legacy, and we continue it, and we celebrate it, and that's kind of what the mini summit's all about: celebrating the great stuff. And y'all were just icing on the cake. That we were excited to wrap it up with that.
Right, well, thank you again for the honor, and hope to continue to do great work with the Skills Network.
Yeah. So, do you have some pictures, or do I need to put up some pictures for the mini summit?
We'll start with you. How about that?
Let's do that. Okay. I just happen to have a folder here. Let's see. So we were talking about it, and I'll go backwards here. So here y'all are getting the TSIDA award. And I mean, this is like, and Jamie was funny. She said, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have known I was getting an award. I would have dressed better. There's Ryan looking very professional. And I got to tell you, I panicked because Frank got there before y'all did. And he said, Ryan didn't think he was going to be able to be there. And my stomach just twisted. Something must have come up over here. But I said, but he's on his way. Yeah. And he goes, yeah. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because that would have been just awful.
That explains the big hug you gave me when I got there.
Well, I would have hugged you anyway, but I was very, very relieved. And so anyway, there they are, just after getting the awards, the first TSIDA awards, looking happy, looking a little stunned, I think.
Right. Yeah. And I was kind of like, wait, really? Is this happening?
Yeah. Jamie was kind of the same way because she's like, I can't even believe this is happening. And so that does something for this heart to know that people are appreciative, because it was our way of expressing appreciation to y'all. And so that's kind of a little happy dance there. Okay, so speaking of happy dance, we were talking about our girls in STEM. So we impacted over 200 middle grades girls throughout the year, and we challenged them, said we have a suite of online courses we have ready for you. If you want to do some independent work, continue developing your skills in computer science, if you do so, we will celebrate you at the end of the year at the Mini Summit. Our first year, and we have one missing here, but I mean, how awesome is that? And anybody in the room, if they miss the excitement within these girls, then they need to have their pulse checked, because these girls, I think Lindsay kind of summed it up when she said, when you see young ladies cheering for each other over their success in a Coursera course,
That's right.
like someone would do when they hit a grand slam at a ball game, I mean, that just kind of lets you know their heart for one another, but their pride in what they did. And so we were so excited to celebrate them, and to invite them and to showcase them in front of the folks there. And I think the reception was really good. How'd you feel about seeing the girls?
Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, these were the girls, again, that went above and beyond,
Above and
the call of
beyond.
duty. They wanted to take their learning, what they learned and what they experienced in a classroom setting, and go to an online space. There was nobody making them do anything.
And these are middle grades girls. I want to emphasize that.
Yeah.
Middle grade students.
But again, it goes back. It's like what we're talking about with the award, right? You have an interest, you have a sort of a passion for it, or you know that there's some more work that's left to be done, and then you just go ahead and do it. And so they took on the challenge, just really a challenge for themselves.
That's it.
It was just them in the mirror saying, "Okay, I can do this.
I can do this."
And they went about it, and they finished up that curriculum, and it was quite amazing.
It was. So you see
that.
this young lady here, and I will say they finished at different levels, and we kind of tiered it. We had honorable mention, merit, bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Where I have the cursor here, I believe that is our what we call the champion. And she gave a quote when we did the article, and she said, I really had no expectation of what this was all going to be, but I never thought of myself as a champion. And to be considered a champion just for doing something that I realized I love to do, and I can do. I mean, I just think that's just a completely transformative moment for a young life.
That's right. And I'd like to add to that. It's a theme I think that we keep speaking to over and over again on the show, which is, you said champion. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure we make all of our youth aware that you can be a champion in education as well as the other things that we think champions
That's right.
exist in, right? This is an area where you can rise to the top.
That's
and
right.
you can be recognized for being excellent in what you do from an educational standpoint, from those type of pursuits. So that's the thing that I want to keep stressing, and for her to see that in herself and to win, to come out on top, first place. I hope she takes that with her and she carries that on throughout her rest of her life.
Well, and I too, I still hear the girls cheering for her. I mean, just the way we would a great football player, a great basketball player, whatever. We need to celebrate what's going on in academia. And this, to me, really can be a defining moment for the path they'll take into their future. And so, yeah, we're excited, and I'm already excited to see what it's going to look like for next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me see if I can advance here. Okay, so this was some of our networking. I was really thrilled that the state director of the LaSTEM network, that's him on the left, Dr. Clint Coleman, and this was the first time he'd ever been to our part of the state. He's from New Orleans, and he flew into Shreveport and drove over, and so,
I have to say something about that.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from New Orleans, and forever and a day before I left New Orleans, I thought New Orleans was the only thing that existed in the state of Louisiana.
Come on now.
I
Don't make me crawl over this table.
I know, but I'm so fortunate that I had the opportunity to come to a different part of the state, and I've seen all of the state now. That and I think I don't know what his age is, but I feel like I had maybe the privilege to come a little bit younger, so I could really soak it in and get an appreciation. And so when I heard that this was the first time he had been up in our area, I'm thinking, wait, what is wrong with you? But then I had to realize I was the same way, until I twang, you know, and I had other
And
experiences.
we encouraged him on his way home to take the long way and exceed,
right.
and really, because a lot of times, and I'm not going to get on a soapbox about this, but decisions that are made in the urban areas like Baton Rouge and New Orleans, they don't really
That's right.
they don't really fit with the rural area that is most of our state. And so if they don't really have a point of reference for what the rural area looks like. So I mean, he went down I-20 and cut down through all those little communities down toward Winnsboro, went down to Sicily Island, cut across through Faraday and Vidalia and all that. I mean, he'd never been to any of that. And so we told him, be prepared to see beautiful country, but also something that looks very different from what you're used to seeing. Anyway, he loved it. He did. He really did.
I think it's a learning experience, and everybody. I think we all need to travel to all different areas of the state. Louisiana is so diverse. I know that the diverse is a buzzword, and it's always said, but it really is. Like you said, you could be in an urban environment at one moment. You could be experiencing a certain type of food and culture, you know, in this area, and 30 minutes away, it's just a completely different vibe, if you will.
Okay, so true story. Years and years ago, when I was on the Workforce Commission, Louisiana Workforce Commission, I was going to a meeting down in Thibodaux, was checking into my hotel, and the man ahead of me at the counter was obviously British. I just figured he was anyway, and I was waiting, and I couldn't help but hear him talking. It became very apparent he had been there before many times, and so when he was backing away and he's finished making his plans, I turned around and I said, I don't mean to, eavesdrop. I couldn't help but hear, but you've been here before? He said, oh, yeah. And I said, do you live in England? He said, yeah. And I said, and you're here again? He said, I come to Louisiana for my vacation every year.
Wow.
I said, what? He said, yeah. I said, do you mind telling me why?
Yeah.
Because I've lived here my whole life. And he said, it's the most fascinating place I have ever been to. And it's exactly what you said, Ryan. He said, I like to drive. He talked about driving the El Camino Trail and going up through. And he said, I love how in just the turn of a road, I can be in like a totally different country. I said, I've always told people we're like two separate countries, but really, we're probably like many more.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Okay, and so in that last picture, that was Dr. Danny Hubbard on the right from Grambling, another one of our partners, and of course, that's Dr. Lindsay Keith Vincent. Okay, so let's see what else we have. Oh, there you are.
Oh, goodness.
This is one of my very favorite things, and I'm going to share with people because in just a second, we'll show some pictures from our Sea Perch training. Sea Perch is an underwater robot that we were able to get kits free of charge because we have a partnership with RoboNation and Department of Defense, and we distributed them throughout the network. And so Louisiana Delta Community College got some, and that's Ryan on the right talking to representatives from Morehouse Parish who also got some. Well, you have to have a way to submerge them to test them because we're going to do a competition challenge at Louisiana Tech and let people bring over teams of kids to participate. So Maria, who was in the middle on that picture trying to point out something to Ryan. Yeah. She's up in Morehouse, and she called me one day and she said, Cathi, we don't have access to a pool, like a swimming pool, because that's typically where most people would go. I said, okay, let's see if the fire department has some tanks or agriculture. Anyway, long story short, when she got there that day, she told me, the first thing she told me was they were using some of their skills funding to buy an above ground pool for them to use for their sea perch robots. Well, I thought that was brilliant. And it was such, we're going to make this happen. Whatever it takes, we're going to make it happen. So Ryan, and I'm going to speak for you, had told me they were really struggling. Delta was really struggling with how to do this. So what happens? He gets over there after I'd announced this about Morehouse. During our networking, he gets over there with them. Here they go, sharing some ideas and everything. Y'all, this is what it's all about in skills. The partnering, the networking, the collaboration, to make things happen.
Well, not only did we talk about their solution to that issue, but then we also got onto aquaponics. Am I saying that right?
They're doing that too, yes.
And I started thinking, my goodness, this is so cool. And they showed me some pictures of they're growing lettuce in a pool with fish and the fertilizer, everything is happening all at once. It's one great ecosystem. And they're explaining all this to me, and I'm just fascinated. I'm asking questions. Well, how does this work and how does that work? Truly, truly amazing. They're doing some great things up in Morehouse Parish. And again, it's one of those things that probably there's so many great things happening in our neck of the woods. that just nobody knows about.
Right.
They don't see the light of day. They don't make the news or whatever. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to make our own little news or media outlet in this podcast to showcase
Right.
those things. But really, it's unbelievable. It's exhausting to think of all of the neat things that are happening in the area.
Yeah, and I was bragging on them yesterday. We were on a director's call, and Morehouse Parish stepped up with using skills, the CS for You program as its interest and opportunities initiative with the state. And so, I mean, really, I think you summed it up. They're really trying to impact these kids and do some cool things. And there's Jamie talking with some other folks, and I'll talk about the young lady on the right here in just a second. But the networking piece of this is important at the Mini Summit. Yes, we're there to celebrate. There's Clint talking with someone from over in Bossier, I think Cyber Innovation Center, yes?
Yes, it sure is. I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but I took a picture with him.
Yeah, because he's important.
Yeah.
That's it.
The Cyber Innovation Center and so on. I mean, their goal is to, again, try to create experiences for those that are in college, and then maybe even some upper level high schoolers as well.
Yeah.
In cybersecurity, because we know we need to train a workforce.
That's
it. In that area, the T, technology and so on, to help defend some assets, either for
my bank account.
Yeah, right, our personal assets, right, our private interests, and even
and
for
our
the
national
government.
security. That's
exactly.
it.
And that's what he was over there for.
So I love this picture. These are partners from West Carroll Parish. And what they're doing now is they're participating in the gallery walk. You'll see on the window, there are little posters. And what we did was we took all of the partnership projects that will be rolled out with funding from Skills. And they were going through and making comments, asking questions. And one of the great things about this is as people went through and they saw it, they were taking pictures like, oh, that's a great idea. I want to take this back to where I am, And so in addition to having the opportunity to talk to people and this and that, they pick up great ideas. I've always said, I truly believe people want to do great stuff. Sometimes they just don't know where to begin. And that's kind of just like, you can see them back there looking at the posters there. Now this, I love that Gary Kennedy, Dr. Gary Kennedy on the left came because Jamie is in his college. And so he was there. I didn't even know that he was coming, but he got to see that. And then on the right, Nick Bustamante, that's his wife Hannah with him. He's part of the VISTA program that is a marriage of medical science and art. And they do all these fabulous graphics and they put out children's books and we use those books in our STEM kits. So again, a celebration of a unique collaboration there. Well, maybe am I at the end or is it my computer? That may be the end.
Hey, that's okay.
Oh, no, maybe there's one more. Dr. Galen Turner, Dr. Heath Timms, engineering and science and computer science partners, and that is it. So I'm glad we put their handsome faces up there so they won't feel so alone. Anyway, that is the Mini Summit.
They need to tune in and they need to watch it.
To see themselves.
We need views on YouTube, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
right.
Let's get it up
That's
there.
right.
All right. Yeah, actually, so I didn't really have much more. I had some pictures of my own that I took from my vantage point, but really the pictures that I have and the pictures that you have are kind of one and the same. So no need for me to throw my collection up there, but it was just a great experience. I thought, it's funny because in going to the summit, I was thinking to myself, well, I've been one time before. I kind of know what's coming. But
that's a big mistake with me.
But it turned out that the feeling I got, and I got to tell you, it was just from walking in the door, and I could feel the energy, in the room, and you greeted me, and I said, okay, I need to be here, and then just again, everything that happened, even prior to all the awards and everything, was just a learning experience, like you said, networking, getting ideas, bringing those things back with you to share, all very valuable, and not to mention, you get fed at this thing. If you didn't know.
Yeah, you do.
It's by invitation only. You have to put a list of invitees or guests together. So I had to have the privilege of putting that list together for our group, and they were there. And what was funny? The reason why I know it was impactful was because I had been and Frank had been, but
the others
had never come to a summit, and they really didn't know what skills was all about. And so their first time, they got fed really well. And then they see this room full of areas that are either room full of individuals that are either experts in their fields. Wow, I'm getting tongue tied. Or and they're seeing all these different ideas come to light, and they're thinking to themselves, we could step up. We could do some cool things. We had our department chair for math right after the summit email us, the whole group, and say, I think I have an idea for a way to get the M in STEM even more love.
That's awesome.
And he started talking about that. And then we came to an agreement that, well, you know what? Instead of just keeping this on email, maybe we should agree to meet, fairly regularly so that when the next round of funding comes around, we'll have something new and innovative to share with the group.
Love it.
So
Love it.
It was really a I don't want to say powerful, maybe an overstatement, but it was a really just a great opportunity to expose those guys and get them inspired.
And I think, too, we don't take enough time to pause, reflect, and celebrate. And so I started it by just giving a very brief overview of a year, our biggest year yet. And we hadn't thought about some of that stuff in a long time, but then it's like, wow. I mean, sometimes we just don't, I'm going to say me, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but sometimes feel like I'm really not doing enough. And then when you stop and try to catalog it, it's like, holy cow, how did we get this done? And the way we were able to get it done is through all those people in the room. It's not an I thing, it's a we thing. And it fills me with a sense of gratitude because we need to celebrate those individuals that are going to the mats daily in whatever form. And before we get off of that, one of those people that you keep talking about the food, Chef Karen Bennett, does she not? Oh my gosh.
It's hard to make a great tasting dish for a lot of people.
For not much money, let me tell you.
This has always been my thing. I like to cook every now and then. I'm not a chef by any stretch, but when I'm in the kitchen, I do better with a small pot, like red beans and rice or something, or grilled chicken or something like that. Small servings, right? But when you get to these huge portions and you're having these, huge apparatus that you have to work with, you got to season all that properly. I find that sometimes you end up losing flavor, or the heat doesn't get to the right places at the right time. But however her team does it,
she's got it going on.
I mean, every bite
and it's beautiful,
great. And it looked great. Yeah,
beautiful,
it was fantastic.
And something for every. Anyway, so I mean, you're right. We want when y'all come, we want you to feel valued. We want you to feel celebrated. We want you to feel like you were glad you got there. And if the food's a way to help make that happen, then let's rock Chef Karen every year. I'm telling you, it happens.
You got my vote.
Okay, let's jump to something here. I mentioned the sea perch training. We were able to host 2 different sites. We had a school, and we wanted 2 sites so everybody wouldn't have to feel like they had to come to Tech. So Tech hosted one, but we had a school in Ouachita Parish that did as well. So this is over in Ouachita Parish, and they are working on it. And this was done virtually. The trainer is on screen, and they sent us a kit for them to put together, and you'll see kind of a finished product in just a second. But there are a couple of the people working on it, and of course there we are over in Tech. And this is the great thing that they were able to collaborate. And here's the deal: you're seeing people from different, like a charter school, a public school, 4-H right there. Let's see. That's one of the robots as they are trying to, get together. You can see the trainer up there on the screen, talking them through that. She may not appreciate that shot, but that's okay. There's Dr. Ann Case Hanks over there to the left, who came from University of Louisiana Monroe, joining Good Hope. And there's someone from Downsville, Scott. Anyway, I just love this, that they were able to get together. They were 2 different types of robots that they were working on. And the opportunity for the adult leaders to have their hands on this before they work with the kids, I thought was incredibly valuable. So I was glad we were able to do that.
Yeah, I think it looks like a fun time. It looks like one of those opportunities that I've been talking about, right? Which is, how do we get adults in the room to have fun with STEM activities? And that's one right there. Even though it's kind of a train the trainer, it still served the same purpose.
Yeah, and I love that when we were looking at that, we saw 4-H in the room, because we need to leverage our informal spaces as well, because they're a big part of this. And so while I'm on the topic of 4-H, on Monday, Missy and I were invited down to Jackson Parish for their 4-H Achievement Day activities. And so we set up STEM stations for them to go through. And so these small groups of kids would come through. And so we gave them an engineering design challenge to make the longest free extending cantilever arm that they could, using nothing but paint stirrers and washers. Okay. You've never lived until you've been in a room with young people as they're crashing their cantilever arms as they learn. But that's what you have to do. We tell them from the beginning, it's going to fall.
Yeah.
So just be ready, but you've got to problem solve your way through it. And they're their persistence. And I know every month we come up with the P word of persistence in figuring out what to do, but they just would not quit. And here's the deal. This is very simple. This is not rocket science. It doesn't take tons of materials, but these kids worked for the entire 30 minutes that we had them. Just, they wanted to win. We told them they needed to try to make it 32 inches off the table. Our record was 36. We had someone break the record that was 2 days ago, Monday. And so, just giving them the opportunity, look at that.
Wow.
To see what they can do and to hear them cheering. Again, this goes back to our young ladies that were so excited at the summit, the different designs that they came up with, and we gave them no instruction. It just has to be off the table. It has to be free extending, and they were amazing.
And they took the whole time, you said.
They did.
Whole
They didn't want to
minutes.
stop.
Right. There's let me do it. Let me
Look
keep
at that
going.
face. Look at that. I mean, that young man, he's like,
what
and
they're doing.
they have to look at where their weak spots are, and
Wow.
they keep going. I think I've got a picture of the ones that actually broke the record. Look at that. When they figure something out, and they're getting to it. There they are. That's the group that.
Oh,
Look at that.
wow.
Okay, now I know you can't see it, but their design was so intentional, and it was almost stacked like brick. I mean, they figured out such. I mean, it was just fantastic, and that was 37 inches off that table.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
They're trying to act cool, but they had kind of been jumping around. But they knew if they jumped, it would cause that table to shake. And so, anyway, that was just totally thrilling.
Oh, gosh, that is something else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, to be there, to be in the room. I saw a picture with Missy Woolley as well, and she was there looking on intently as well. But to say this is what you did, right? You presented them with a challenge. And in this case, that group, you didn't even have to cheer them on. You didn't have to do a lot of encouraging. They were ready, and they wanted to be a part of that. They wanted to stay there. And that's something that we like to see from our young minds. It's like, how can I stay on a problem and troubleshoot it until it's done, until I've solved the puzzle? I mean, that's great. And having these types of opportunities is what we need.
And here it is. A lot of people are like, I can't do STEM. I'm not smart enough. I don't.
There it was.
There it was. Paint stirrers and washers and a challenge, and then get out of their way. That's really it. And sometimes the adults need to get out of their own way to let the kids do it. And speaking of adult leadership, let's jump real quick. We have just wrapped up middle grades in the mix. You were looking at Dr. Christy Ruddock. She was one of the facilitators for this from the Department of Chemistry at Louisiana Tech University. She is doing a demonstration for the young people. These are middle grade students, and they're over in the big integrated engineering science building at Tech, and they're watching her. I mean, they are learning from a real college professor. She's doing her things, and this is her first year. I mean, she has just jumped in. I mean, can you believe that?
There's something about what the skills network is all about that has people excited, and so she, like you say, she just jumped in.
And part of it was because of this. There's Dr. Bill Dees, who's been doing this forever, but he invited her. He saw something in her, invited her. She didn't hesitate. And so how awesome is that? Missy and I kind of supported them. We're co-PIs on the grant because that's kind of the way it's structured. But we just had to get out of the way and let them do their thing. And it allows them to leverage their own expertise and their own resources with support from us, but then for kids to sit and say, I learned from a real college professor as a 7th grader, or an 8th grader, whatever. And so it was amazing. And so you get to see, and we've seen some pictures similar to this, but here they are in a real lab doing the mystery powders, part 1 of the mystery powders, and they're wearing their goggles, and they're in there, in a space where in the hall there are college students, doing their thing, and they're collaborating, and they've got this challenge, and it's just, for me, I don't know that there's anything much better than seeing young people reach their potential doing these kind of things.
Absolutely.
Maybe their first time to ever do something like this.
And you're right, time and place, right? So I'm on a college campus doing this. I feel like this is, exciting. That there's newness about it. I would enjoy it if I had that opportunity.
So anyway, we've already decided that we're going to do it again next year. We're going to kind of have a similar experience, but we don't want it to be exactly like this. In the event that there's some 7th graders that move into 8th grade and come up, but we hope we have a whole new set of kiddos. But yeah, they've already got the RFPs out, and so yeah, we've got a meeting next week. So we just barely wrap it up, and we're already planning another one for next year. But we just think this is important. You know, when we talk about futures for young people, we have to give them opportunities to see what their future could look like. And when they come to the university or to Louisiana Delta Community College or wherever they are, and they see older young people doing something, then they think, well, maybe I can do that. And they interact with adults that are like, we can help you do that. And then we give them information to say, if you do this, then this is what your future could look like. It's a really nice thread to be involved with.
That's right. And I remember an experience when I was in 6th grade, the summer between my 6th and 7th grade year, that I was on a university campus as well. And again, we take it for granted because we work at institutions of higher education, but the enormity of it all, everything's so much bigger. And again, you're with these older yet young people, and the impact that they can have, as they welcome you. They say, you know what, this school thing, keep at it. There's rewards down the road.
That's exactly right.
And we're here to encourage you to keep going, and we're here to help you.
And there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing, because it connects to what's coming next.
That's right.
And all. And speaking of that, I've just thrown up a picture, and y'all have seen her before if you're following us. This is Melissa Lee.
Yes,
She's
yes.
no stranger, but this kind of connects to what we're saying. So, we nominated Melissa for the Youth Advisory Board within the National Girls Collaborative Project, a big national thing. She was selected. She has now been named co-chair of this National Advisory Board. Now, this is co-chair, freshman at Ruston High School. She began volunteering with us when she was in middle school. She caught the fever. She's become a STEM advocate. She, is an influencer for young people. So at the Skills Mini Summit, we awarded her with our first Trailblazer Award.
Yes.
And we hope that will inspire someone else to say, you know what, I'm going to step into those shoes and be the next trailblazer. And so we're just grateful for Melissa's leadership and so excited to have her in our network. And I think she sets a really good example for all of us. Number one, of what a young person is capable of, but what we as adults can help facilitate if we look and see the potential in our young people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a well-deserved award. I don't know Melissa personally, but I feel like I've seen her presence, I've seen her face in various places, in media outlets. So I know that she's doing some really good things. And then again, to be able to meet her in person at the summit was really great. So congratulations to her.
Absolutely. So talking summit one more time, and I'm going to see if this will pop up.
By the way, I don't think that we should call it a mini summit. I think we should just call it a summit. I feel like it's grandiose enough, and there's enough effort that goes into it. We should just take the mini off of it. That was a thought.
Okay, well, and I have wondered if we even need to call it a summit, because that makes people thinking they're going into some I don't know. It was named the mini summit before I ever came.
Yeah.
And so maybe we do take a straw poll and see, does this evolve into something else? I don't know, but I think that's food for thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's see. Will this logo show up? I think it does.
Yeah,
United Way of Northeast Louisiana should be no stranger to anyone in our area, but it is new to Skills because we were able to announce at the Mini Summit. We definitely should call it something else, but I'm going to call it Summit. At the Mini Summit, they are now an official partner. And it's so exciting what they're going to do. We have talked previously about the fact that we have this wonderful skills STEM workforce analysis report, the REAL report.
It's a good report.
It
too.
is.
It's very
I mean,
detailed.
so much information about jobs within our region and how, what salaries look like and where the gaps are and this, that, and the other. United Way is going to grant us opportunity to provide every student that goes through the Dollars and Cents Reality Fair that they put on, and they put on a bunch of them. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it is an amazing opportunity where students come in. It's an interactive, engaging simulation where you come in and you just draw a job, you have the packet, and that's the salary you have to work with, and you go through 10 stations, and you've got to buy your insurance and pay your electricity and rent and all this. And you learn what do you want your future to look like? Do you want to have to really be on a tight budget? Do you want to have a little flexibility? Do you want to be able to buy those concert tickets when you visit Temptation Island? And so that's where I always worked. I was evil but that's what happens to us. Well, anyway, so we're going to be able to include a one-pager for them with some really important information from the real report to let them know about job opportunities in this STEM arena within our region. And we think it's going to help them as they make decisions about what to do. But we're so grateful to United Way. Again, they get it. They want our young people to be aware of the possibilities for their future. It's going to help us get the word out with workforce information, and I'm just grateful to add them to the team. How about that?
Yeah, financial literacy. That's something that we can't underestimate.
No.
We need to make sure we push that to our youth regularly. I would say, equally as important as STEM education, because I know coming up through the school, through school ranks, that was not talked about.
No,
at all.
I learned it at home, and I'm not sure I listened. Well, I mean, we usually learn the most by our failures,
and things like that. But
and save.
Yeah, but it's not. It makes a difference. If your parents are saying it, it's one thing. It's, oh, come on now. You just don't want me to buy this new toy that I want. But in actuality, there's some
truth to it. Yeah,
makes sense, right?
Yeah, that does.
So to have this program is really. In fact, I think I sat in on one of these dollars and cents sessions before, and it got intense.
It does.
So we appreciate United Way for doing this.
I think I told you before we started that I remember one year I always worked in Temptation Island, because that's in life. That's the hard part. People saying, oh, buy these concert tickets. And I was always going to do that. And then I'm like, oh, I'm eating ramen noodles for 2 months. But I always worked Temptation Island. And this young man was looking down and they're having to tally up. And he looks at me and he goes, am I going to have to live with my parents the rest of my life? I said, that's a decision you're going to have to make. What do you want your life to look like? Do you want to go to the mats and get some training and a degree and have an opportunity for a better paying wage,
right,
or, live in your parents' basement? I know what the answer would be at my house. My parents are like, no, you're not living with us the rest of your life.
Not an option, right?
No, that was not an option. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Wow. What I had this thought, what does the future hold? I know that's a broad ask, but I'm thinking about summer. Do things settle down in the summer? They just keep rolling, huh?
Keep rolling. We are wall to wall with STEM camps, and in fact, next month I will have some exciting reports from something brand new we were able to offer. We've got teacher training. Missy and I will be going for training ourselves. So there's really no gap. So let's don't talk about that.
We're taking it one day at a time.
One day at a time. That's the best I can do. Okay, celebrate real quick. New partners. Madison Parish on board officially this year. They are going to be starting a robotics program over there. And so, very exciting. They have a list of what's going on. And I got to tell you, the state is excited when we are promoting robotics. And so that's exciting to have them on board. We anticipate they'll be coming to some competitions at Tech, but to know that they're utilizing some funding that we're able to provide and to create an opportunity for that, well, we are excited.
Welcome, Madison.
Yep.
Welcome.
Okay, let me see if I can find my other one. You might need to blank that screen because, I kind of get out of control here. I got to...
No, you're fine.
No. Yeah. Well, and we've seen her. There it is. That's why we have Ryan at the board over there. And
I should have had something clever to say in the interim, because we're sitting there.
You better be ready for it. That's it. So Franklin Parish, and I love this. Franklin Parish is not they won't receive skills funding this year. They're just coming out, but came to the mini summit. Mm-hmm. They are already they are piloting a district-wide code.org program next year before we ever even give them any resources to work with. So we have partnered them with Baton Rouge and, Scott McCann. We are so excited they're on board. And so, my goal is to have an intentional strategic footprint in every one of our parishes, and we just added 2 more, and that's total excitement. I think I've got 3 to go. And so that's a goal. And I keep reminding myself that this is a marathon and not a sprint,
But you're running pretty fast.
I don't know. Yeah, better get that other eye fixed pretty quick. Yeah, and so that's exciting, and that to me, and I got to tell you something else. How Franklin Parish, because we did not have a partner there, and they were down in Lake Charles for Social Studies Fair. They saw a poster somewhere about the LaSTEM Center down there. Looked up the director down there. He said, "You actually have a director up there." That moment put him on the phone with me. And I said, absolutely, I'm going to send you information. I want you to come to the mini summit. You'll see what's going on. But we started this back and forth, sat down after the mini summit, formed up some stuff. I mean, there you go. I mean, is that not awesome? And so he's been hungry for it. He's been hungry. And this tells me something. We just have to be more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, intentional in getting out there, because they're out there. They're waiting on us. They're waiting on us. And so we just got to make sure we find them. That's it.
I'm wondering, who else do we need to talk to, right? I mean, I feel like the Region 8, I mean, are we already the largest network? I mean, is that possible?
I don't know. We've got a lot of parishes.
We've got a lot of partners.
Oh, a lot of partners for sure.
Yeah,
you know.
What is it? Is it 16 now? We include Franklin and Madison. I felt like the number was 14. I'm not. We won't quote you on it if we.
No, please don't make me do any math. I don't want to have to do that.
But it's truly telling. You know, again, the Skills Network is growing. A lot of great work is happening. It's evolving, and I just can't. I mean, when this started a couple years back, I never thought that it would continue. Really, honestly, I thought this was going to be a one and done.
Well, I mean,
from the state and everything, I just thought this was going to be it. And
Well, and Ryan, when it started, I mean, we were still in the pandemic when this started, and nobody knew anything. There was so much uncertainty, and I mean, I know we are very flip when we say, well, we've been building the plane while we fly it. Well, that's pretty true. I mean, and now they're actually getting around to some structure that allows everybody to kind of have an same parameters, same guidelines, same everything, because who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? But here's the deal. I think that the immediate results that they saw just kind of blew people away. The legislature stepped up. More money was put into it. We've been able to add staff. Look, I got to say, we would not be doing what we're doing now if it wasn't for Missy coming on board. I mean, flat out. And we need even more hands and feet. And so, we just hope that we'll, get to a point where we can do that. But we've been really blessed, and they've put a great deal of responsibility on us, but at the same time, I'm talking about the state, a great deal of faith in what we're doing. But I think it's because they've seen results. And I get super excited when I see the results in our little corner of the world. And I have the unique joy and opportunity of seeing that in the eyes of the individuals, not just young people, but the teachers, the administrators, leaders, business people that are excited and are grateful. And so it just kind of provides us with that extra hoopla, to keep going.
Yeah, I feel like the generational impact, is going to be lasting. If we can keep this thing going, for a few more, 10 years, 15 years, however long, the region is going to see some great benefit to it, because again, STEM education is not just teaching somebody how to program a computer, how to work a robot, how to,
mindset.
It's all those things. I've met with, the day that you thought I wasn't coming to the summit, the meeting I had was with a gentleman who owns or who manages a telecom company. And his thought or his lament to me was, there are those that have come through the higher education system. Test scores are decent, they look like on paper they can do the work, but when I put them out in the field, they freeze up. They're not sure how to troubleshoot problems, how to think through things critically, and it's like, if it's not easily found in the first couple of keyword searches in a Google search,
they throw up their hands and whatever.
Quit. So what's happening with the Skills Network and CS4U and all the programming that's going on is, we're embedding this idea in students that, yes, we understand that we live in a convenience is king type of mentality, and our society is such that it's built around those luxuries. But to get anywhere in life and to really succeed and to go beyond your comfort zone, that's what you have to do. You have to bang your head on the table. You have to think through a problem, for hours, if not days. You have to sleep on it. You have to get back up and work at it again. And then the feeling of accomplishment that you get when you go through the problem instead of going around it or going under it or just throwing your hands up. When you go through it and you see the other side, man, now you want to go back and feel that feeling again and again and again. And the programming that Skills puts on affords planting that seed so that we can see those types of individuals come forward as they get older and can take on the important jobs that come up later on in
And
their
so
life.
I'm sitting here suddenly seeing even more value in that cantilever arm. The paint stirrers and the washers, that persistence, that, oh my gosh, it fell, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try it again. We're going to make this happen. And then our responsibility for, like you said, planting those seeds, celebrating that success, letting them know, yes, you can. Yeah, and it takes all of us doing that. And that's why we're so excited to have this fantastic network that we do and a chance to champion that every month together on this Skills podcast.
That's right. That's right. I feel like what you just said was a great entry to an exit.
I think you're right, and I may have been strategic in, teeing that up for you.
I really appreciate that because I was actually going to almost ask, hey, so is there anything else? But I don't have to do that because you took care of it. Thank you so much, Cathi Cox-Boniol, for being here.
Absolutely.
Joining me, driving all this way to LDCC to do this wonderful show.
This is my home away from home.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure when we get the chance to get together and talk STEM and skills.
And as we go, you keep the music going. Remember that I'm in the presence of a Tosido winner, and I am excited to celebrate you, Ryan Pierce. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much. This has been episode 8. We will see you next month. So long.